I'm Terra, and right now I'm sitting in my car, hands still shaking, like my body hasn't realized yet that it's finally over. I just walked out of a coffee shop where I faced my family after 4 years. 4 years of silence. 4 years of swallowing everything I never got to say. And today, yeah, I said it all. But before I tell you what happened inside that cafe, you need to understand something. People don't just cut off their family for no reason. There's always a story behind it. And mine? It didn't start with anger. It started with love. The kind of love that slowly turns into exhaustion when you're the only one carrying it. A few weeks ago, I got an email. Subject line, "We need to talk." Simple, clean, but it hit me like a punch to the chest. I stared at it for 2 days. Didn't open it, didn't breathe properly either, if I'm being honest. Because deep down, I knew nothing good ever comes from people who only remember you when they need something. And guess what? I was right. My brother Ryan, yeah, the golden child, his life was falling apart. Affair exposed, wife gone, job lost. My dad had heart surgery. My mom? Overwhelmed. So suddenly, after 4 years of silence, they remembered me. Not because they missed me, because they needed me. Classic. Reading that email felt like reopening a wound I spent years trying to close. And just like that, I was back there. Back in that tiny apartment with Jake. God, Jake. If you've ever lost someone who was your entire world, you already know what I'm about to say. He wasn't just my husband. He was home. We didn't have much. Small apartment, bills stacked like a bad joke, secondhand furniture that creaked louder than it should. But we had something real. Something my family never understood. Peace. We were expecting our baby, and Jake was so hyped it was actually cute. Man spent hours building a crib like it was some elite-level mission. "I got this," he said, sweating like crazy. "This kid deserves the best." I remember laughing, telling him the baby wouldn't care if the crib was from a palace or a thrift store. But he cared, because that's who he was. And then, one night, everything just snapped. Cold rain, dark sky, the kind of night that feels off, but you ignore it. Jake kissed my forehead before leaving. "See you in the morning," he said. Simple words, normal words, words you never think will be the last. At 10 p.m., my phone rang, and something in my chest dropped before I even answered. You ever get that feeling, like your soul already knows before your mind catches up? It was his captain, and the second I heard his voice, I knew. Drunk driver, on his way to a call, didn't make it. I don't remember how I got to the hospital. I just remember walking into that room and seeing him, still, quiet, gone. And I kept thinking, no, this is wrong. Like if I stared long enough, he'd just wake up and say, "Relax, it's just a prank." But life isn't a movie. There's no rewind, no second take. And then my body broke, literally. Pain hit me so hard I couldn't even stand. 6 weeks early. Labor. Right there. In that moment. Alone. So I did what anyone would do. I called my parents. Because no matter how complicated things are, you still hope. You still believe that when it really matters, they'll show up, right? Yeah, I thought so too. "Mom, Jake's gone. I'm in labor. I need you." I was crying so hard I could barely speak. And then, silence. Not emotional silence, not shocked silence, just inconvenient silence. "Honey, we're at the airport. she said. Airport. Yeah, airport. With Ryan, he just got a big promotion. We're flying out. It's been planned for months. I swear, something inside me didn't just break, it shut down completely. Because in that moment, I realized something that changed me forever. I wasn't their priority. I wasn't even second. I was optional. I didn't scream, didn't beg, didn't say please. I just went quiet. Because when someone shows you who they are like that, you don't argue. You remember. There was this nurse, Linda. She saw everything, didn't ask questions, just held my hand, and stayed while I gave birth to my son, alone. Ethan came early, tiny, fragile, fighting, spent 11 days in NICU. And during those 11 days, my family was living their best life. Beach, sun, photos, and the only message I got? Hope you're okay. Maldives is beautiful. Yeah, I still have that message. Because some things you don't keep for memories, you keep them as proof. Jake's funeral came, church full. His colleagues, friends, people who actually cared. You know who wasn't there? My family. Still on vacation, didn't even try. And that's when I made a decision. Not loud, not dramatic, just final. I was done. No calls, no texts, no explanations. Because honestly, what was there left to say? You don't explain pain like that. You move on from it. Or at least you try. And slowly, life started rebuilding. Not because it was easy, but because I had no other choice. Mrs. Johnson next door, 80 years old, sweetest soul. She showed up more for me than my own mother ever did. Captain Thompson checked on us like family, not obligation, family. And that's when I learned something real. Family isn't blood, it's behavior. It's who shows up when life gets ugly, not when it's convenient. So when that email came after 4 years saying they needed me, yeah, I didn't feel love. I felt clarity. And still, I went. Because sometimes you don't go back for them, you go back to finally close the door. That coffee shop, it wasn't a reunion, it was a reckoning. And what I said in there, yeah, that changed everything. When I walked into that coffee shop, they were already sitting there. Same table, same people, just older, tired, nervous. And for a second, it felt weirdly normal, like nothing had happened, like 4 years didn't exist. But then my mom looked up and said, Terra, finally. Finally? That word hit different, like I was the one who disappeared, like I owed them something. Nah, not today. I didn't sit right away. I just stood there, looking at them, really looking. My dad looked smaller than I remembered. My mom, still perfectly dressed, like presentation mattered more than reality. And Ryan? Yeah, the golden boy didn't look so golden anymore. Dark circles, slumped shoulders. Life had finally caught up with him. Say something, my mom said softly. So I did. But not what they expected. I didn't start with anger. I reached into my bag and pulled out a folder. You want to know what happened? I said calmly. Let me remind you. First paper. Here's me taking care of you, Mom, driving you to therapy, missing work, losing money. Second paper. Here's me helping Ryan when he messed up before, fixing things, again. Then I placed my phone on the table and opened that message, the Maldives one. Here's you when my husband died and I was in labor, alone. Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Real. My dad tried to speak. It was a long time ago. I cut him off. Pain doesn't expire. Ryan looked down. My mom started crying. But you know what's crazy? For the first time in my life, I didn't feel anything for her tears. No guilt, no urge to fix it, just distance. "We made mistakes," she whispered. Mistakes? Nah, that wasn't a mistake. That was a choice. You didn't make a mistake. You made a decision. You chose comfort over me. Ryan finally spoke. "I'm sorry, Terra." And I believed him. I really did. But here's the thing people don't get. Sorry doesn't rebuild 4 years of silence. Sorry doesn't show up in hospital rooms. Sorry doesn't hold your hand when your whole world collapses. "I'm glad you said it," I told him, "but I needed you then, not now." My mom reached for my hand. I pulled mine back, gently but clearly. "I spent my whole life being your backup plan, your fixer, your emotional support system." I looked straight at them. "But I'm not that person anymore." And then I said the sentence that closed everything. "You don't get access to me just because you're struggling." Silence again. But this time, it wasn't awkward. It was final. I stood up, picked up my folder, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel heavy. I felt free. 2 weeks later, my mom sent a letter, long, emotional, full of explanations, but no real accountability. I didn't reply, didn't need to, because closure isn't something they give you, it's something you take. That Christmas, it was just me and Ethan. Mrs. Johnson came over with food. Captain Thompson brought a toy police car. Linda came with cake. We laughed. We remembered Jake. We lived. At one point, Ethan looked at me and asked, "Mom, where's Grandma and Grandpa?" I knelt down, looked him in the eyes, and said something I wish someone told me earlier. Some people are family by blood, but real family, they're the ones who stay. He smiled and said, "I like our family." And yeah, so do I. Because here's the truth nobody tells you. Walking away from toxic people, it doesn't make you cold, it makes you honest. And sometimes, the strongest thing you can say isn't "I forgive you." It's not "I hate you." It's simply "no more." And that's where your real life begins.